In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the latest email marketing tips, strategies, and techniques that are working incredibly well right now. Because email has evolved a lot in the past 12 months. From how brands handle segmentation and automation, all the way to how they're writing and designing their emails to make conversions. And that evolution is only accelerating. The good news? Most of these changes actually work in your favor, if you know how to take advantage of them. This video will give you the most up-to-date strategies you can use to stay ahead of the curve and outperform your competition before they catch up to you. Let's jump into the strategies. The first strategy is dead simple, but insanely effective. And that is using plain text support style emails inside of your automated email flows. Now, your automated email flows are your automated emails that are going to find your customer based on an action they take in the customer journey, such as the welcome flow if somebody signs up to your email list, or the abandoned cart flow if somebody adds an item to cart and then leaves. And then also post-purchase sort of stuff. Most brands try to make every single email of theirs super graphic heavy, and they go crazy with everything, branded headers, infographics, everything. And that's great. You definitely need those for a lot of your emails. These are incredibly helpful for ongoing engagement, visually appealing your customers, and getting continued engagement and preventing unsubscribes. However, what we found on testing on over 100 7- to 9-figure e-commerce brands in this past year alone is that in 2025 and 2026, the customer loves personal sort of emails that feel like they're coming from another human. Because how would you feel if you were thinking about making a purchase, maybe it's a big decision, you're thinking between different competitors, and a founder or a member on the team you're considering personally reached out to you over email and asked if you had any questions about your order? You probably feel pretty good, and you probably have a little bit more trust and liking for the company, potentially just enough trust to actually place an order. And the numbers speak for themselves. Consistently, our best performing emails are these personal text-based emails strategically inputted into certain flows or big campaign events. Now, a lot of brands have caught on to this and have started to send these sort of text-based and personal style emails, but most of them are just sending these emails to their email campaigns or the broad blast to their email lists. However, the smart brands that are ahead of the curve are implementing these sort of emails into their automation. Here are my favorites that you can implement. First is going to be a text-based email like this from the founder, which is going to overcome a frequently asked question or an objection from the customers. And you want to place this into your email welcome flow. Ideally, email around 3, a couple days after somebody has signed up to the email list, but they haven't purchased. We look at this example. It says, the most common question I get is, what does Breeze taste like? It makes sense. Buying a drink you found on the internet is a little risky, especially if it just tastes like another sad club soda. So you're addressing this objection up front and having that personal sort of like feel in writing like a friend. And then he explains the taste and then reminds the discount right here. Then ending with a personal touch, much love, and ending with the name and a little bit of life right here. This is perfect. Insert one of these into your welcome flow, and I promise that is going to be the highest performer. Great execution. And then we have a couple of examples right here going over putting these emails into your abandonment flows. So here's one example of a brand founder reaching out to somebody who was browsing the website, but they didn't find any style or anything that they liked. And so just personally reaching out with a super quick and punchy message being like, hey, it's Michelle, I'm the founder. I noticed you browsing our site, and I know that things can be difficult. Here's a link to our bestsellers. P.S. The iPhone 16 just came out. We already have these cases for it. And then giving a discount and a link to purchase right there. Simple and effective. Here's another example for an actual abandoned cart or abandoned checkout email coming from someone on the team saying, hey, I hope you're keeping in good health, so you really have that personal feel. Address the abandonment and then go into some social proof. This is something that you want to be able to fit in if you can. Mix in some social proof and also point out that you have support members ready to answer questions if you have any. It's just super personal, and this sort of thing is going to print. And then, of course, if you're doing any discounts, then you can feature your discounts right here. If somebody hasn't purchased in a while, or somebody signed up to the email list and they just haven't bought yet, feel free to send something like this from the founder, just reminding of the mission and then extending the discount for the customer. You just want to make sure that these emails have life. They don't feel like a robot reaching out. It actually feels like the founder reaching out to the customer. Keep it nice and simple. Don't try to do an essay of information. And I promise to you, putting these into your email automations are going to make you a lot of money. Now, the next strategy can double your email and SMS revenue without you sending a single email or SMS. And most brands completely overlook this, and especially the advanced strategies that I'm about to show you. And this strategy is all about spending time creating high converting and engaging pop-up forms on your website to grow your email and SMS lists. Here's the thing. If you could double the opt-in rate of your sign-up form, then you would in turn double the size of your email and SMS lists. And that means double the people to nurture, double the people who are going to be educated and double the people who convert off your content, and double the amount of first-time buyers who turn to repeat buyers, and so on and so on. The best part is this can directly lower your cost per acquisition off of your ads if you're spending a lot on ads to your website, because for no extra ad spend, if you could double your email sign-up form conversion rate, you can get all those people who are skeptical and weren't quite ready to buy off of your website just after seeing one ad, and send them emails to educate them and build that trust until they purchase. For no extra ad spend, you get more conversion. And then over time, you're going to drive repeat purchases from them and drive up your LTV as well. Now I know what you're thinking, you probably have a pop-up form installed, but I hate to break it to you, but it's more than likely pretty trash. I review over 10 7 to 9 figure e-commerce brands every single week. If you want me to review yours, just go to the link in the description and I'll run an audit of your account. And most of them have it completely wrong. Old pop-up forms of 2024 just ask somebody for their email. They slap a boring box that says sign up for 10% off and hope that somebody signs up. That's not compelling anymore. The customer's seen that a million times. And everyone does that. Whenever the customer sees this sort of pop-up on their phone while they're browsing, their thumb is already moving to the top right corner to find that X button to close out of that pop-up form. The pop-ups that convert double or triple what those old forms do are actually engaging and they feel personalized to the customer. Not only that, they have a cool design, but most importantly, they are asking a question or getting a micro commit from the customer before we ask for their email address. It seems counterintuitive asking a step before we ask for somebody's email. You think, how does more work for the customer convert for more conversions? But this all plays into psychology. Let's break it down. Now, an old form would just show something like this, like you have this discount 15% off, enter your email. But again, like I said, the customer has seen this way too many times. Instead, before that, we want to have some sort of pop-up like this, where instead of asking somebody straight for their email address, they just see, oh, share what problem I'm trying to solve. I'm probably going to get customized solutions for this, and I get a discount. That's just the added bonus, and it doesn't ask for the email, and the person doesn't know it's coming. What this does is it lowers the barrier to entry. The person doesn't have to type out their email. All they have to do is click a button, which is much easier and has way less cognitive load for the user. So we get over 50% of people who actually engage with this first step. To put that into context, typically a form like the one that I showed you on the right only has a 4% conversion rate. We can get up to 50% of people interacting with that first step. So once somebody clicks what their problem is, then this exact sign up will show up asking for the email address. And this triggers psychologically what's called commitment bias in humans. Once you start doing something, you're much more likely to follow through. You've already started momentum and you don't want to stop. So this person is thinking, oh, I have this discount. Let me just answer this question. They answer the question and then it asks for the email, and the person is thinking in their head like, I already started, I might as well finish. And so then they're entering their email address at a much higher rate. And if you don't believe me, you can look at the numbers. Here was the before and after of implementing this quiz pop-up inside of Klaviyo. We did not change anything about the offer. All that we did was we introduced this sort of quiz. And you could see the performance before a 4.7% conversion rate. Then after, the quiz mobile pop-up 12.5% after just running this for a week. If you don't believe that, here is another example splitting things by mobile and desktop right here compared to the prior version right here, 4.6%. You'd think that's solid. And this is what they were doing before, just doing straight to an email address. And then we implement our mobile quiz pop-up and we get 11%, over a double in their list growth. And this is only live for 1 week. Imagine over a year if we're getting double the amount of people on the email list. And even desktop at 9.2% as well, a clean double. Now, you don't always need to do a quiz. You can do something like this called the micro commit, where you don't ask for the email address in that first step. You just say, hey, do you want this discount? It's just, yes, I want it, or no, thanks, I'll pay full price. That works as well, plays into commitment bias, but it's a little bit less personalized. When we do pop-up forms that are like this, with you've got this discount, share what problem you're trying to solve, we also get data from the customer. And so we're able to leverage that personalization inside of our emails in the future. This is what gets people to convert. And if you have a pretty looking design like this, that's more than just like an ugly templatized sort of like discount, then you're also automatically gonna get a lot more people opting in just because it's more visually engaging. Just go to your website today and ask yourself, is this pop-up exciting? Would I want to give my email to this? If the answer is no, test something new. Add a first step. Make it feel like a conversation, and you'll watch your list and revenue grow much faster. And the next strategy I want to talk about for what is working in 2025 and 2026 honestly might be the most important, and that is sending value-packed email campaigns that are not discount-oriented 3 times per week consistently. The biggest mistake that I see most brands make is they're sending too little content, or they're sending the wrong type of content. I'll save you 4 years of testing and sending over 1 billion marketing emails on what works the best. And that is send emails 3 times per week. Not once per week where people forget who you are, and not every single day because people will get burned out. Get that sweet spot of Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 times per week. This just builds rhythm, it builds recognition, and most importantly, if you send the right content, it builds trust. Now I know what you're thinking, what are we sending? Because we don't want to send just sale, sale, sale. We don't want to train people to wait for a discount in order to purchase. We're trying to build desire and trust without needing discounts. When you consistently give value in your emails that are well designed and well written, people will not unsubscribe, and you will release dopamine in their head, and they will actually look forward to hearing from you. That's when you start making sales without needing discounts. When you get people opening up every single one of your emails, looking forward to them, and thinking about you throughout the day, you'll be in the back of their head, and then the next time they have any sort of minuscule need for your product, you're gonna be the first brand that comes to mind. They're gonna look up your website on Google, and they're gonna go make a purchase from you. That is our goal. That's when you start making sales without discount. They read one email, they skip your next couple emails, they read another, then eventually they trust you enough to buy at full price. Sale emails are just too focused on give me the sale right now, and they skip that trust factor rather than slowly building up that trust piggy bank where eventually it's full enough to where people are ready to convert and then become actual advocates for the brand. Selling people on sales, they don't become advocates. They just become people who are there for a quick buck. For most of the brands that we work with, these value-based emails become the #1 driver of their revenue. More than their automations, more than their big flows, but these consistent value-based emails. I keep throwing around the word value. So what kind of value emails actually work? Well, I'm glad you asked. Here are 29 of my favorites right here, and I'm gonna go through a few of them in a little bit more detail. But if you want this, feel free to steal any of these, but I wanna highlight some of my favorites. One of which being the 1 benefit email, which, as it sounds, we just wanna focus on 1 benefit of our product. Rather than overwhelming people with a million different benefits of our product, if we just double down on one of them, it becomes much more digestible for the customer, and they're much more likely to actually internalize that and then buy from us. So for this one, it's just banish festive fogginess. Magic Mind, this product has all sorts of different productivity benefits, but instead of focusing all of them, they just talked about festive fogginess. They explain it a little bit, and then they explain the 3 steps for using their product, and boom, that's the email. And then for this brand, Seed, this is the whole entire email. All they're talking about is getting rid of bloat. They give a stat, they give a couple of testimonials, and all these talk about is dealing with bloat. Mix these with quick copy, pretty looking designs, and you've got emails that people will continue to come back for. Similar to that, we have the 1 feature email, which is going to be 1 feature of your product. Rather than focusing on one of the benefits, we want to focus on one of the parts of our product and why we chose that. Here's an example of one of the products. They use tamanu oil, and so this whole email, all it talks about is that 1 feature of the product so that you can learn something about that and why we use that. And in this one, for example, it talks about what we mean by instantized creatine. The creatine has that feature, and here's exactly what that feature means and how it works. Another one that we want to double down on just simplicity is the frequently asked question. Don't focus on a million frequently asked questions. What if we just answered 1 frequently asked questions in our emails? Keep it nice and simple, and this is the stuff that converts. A couple more in-depth examples would be like what's inside, so exactly what's inside your product or what's inside one of your welcome kits. You do how to use, so exactly how to use your product. This is great because you can also send this to people who bought from you and need some education on the product, but it's also going to help people understand like exactly how to use their product if they do end up purchasing. We have a back in stock email, which automatically has built-in urgency because if something is back in stock, that means it went out of stock and it had demand. So by creating a back in stock email, you already create demand. We have trending products as well, just because people like to move with the masses. Keep your emails nice and simple, promoting some trending products. We have my favorite, the reviews and testimonials email. My favorites are ones like this that just highlight a couple really passionate testimonials and maybe even just 1. These work really, really well. You have us versus them, so showing how you compare versus your competitors. The list goes on and on. Myths versus facts, what's wrong in the industry versus like how we overcome these products. Research study highlights, so what does research say about specific parts of our product. Holiday emails, so use ChatGPT to ask you if there are any holidays coming up that are tied to your brand. And there are even 100 non-discount emails that I will list for you right here. If there are any product focus, you want to do product focus emails, here are 20 different non-discount emails that you can do. If you want to focus on education, there are 20 right here for you. If you want to do customer and social proof based stuff, you have these 20. Brand and community, you want to get people closer to your brand, 20 more examples right here. If you want to have a little bit of fun, get creative, then here are 20 more. You get the point. There are a lot of different angles that you can use, but the main theme that you notice in these is that we're not using any discounts. We keep the email short, snappy, and super simple for the customer to understand. We mix that with unique copy and dopamine delivering design, and you have a recipe for non-discount emails that convert. Send those 3 times per week, and you are ahead of 99% of your competition. Now, if you want to learn more about strategies that'll keep you ahead of your competition, watch this video. It should honestly not be free, and it goes over more of these strategies in depth. If you're an e-commerce brand and want a team to take care of your email, there's a link to book a call in the description with me, and we'll potentially chat. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.